Hello and welcome to the overview and operation video for the Sandshark Labs Foamarm Fryer. The Foamarm Fryer is a 3D printed magazine-fed Nerf blaster that fires rifle rounds in full auto. Starting out in the front, we have two muzzle options, a short muzzle and a long muzzle. The advantage of the long muzzle being if you're wearing like outerwear, like a sweatshirt or something, you wouldn't want the sweatshirt to crinkle up and block any rounds exiting the muzzle like they would from the short muzzle. But if you're not wearing long sleeves, then a short muzzle will do just fine. At the top we have the part that I like to call the cord arm and the roller. The way you actually fire the blaster is you pull back on this ripcord here, and if you pull back far enough it will rev and also fire the blaster. And this cord here just goes around the roller so it doesn't catch all the hard plastic and break. Behind the cord arm we have a mechanical safety where when the safety is pulled out and back like this, if the battery were in, you would be able to rev and then eventually fire the blaster. And then if you were to press the safety in, this basically blocks the trigger unit entirely from moving, so it's not even able to rev at all, let alone fire. On the shell of the blaster there are 4 Picatinny rails for whatever you may want. This part here is called the cord tower, and it basically just assists your cord from dangling too much, which this will always occupy one of the 2 top rails. But you're able to probably put, like, I don't know, something behind it if you want, and then you have the 3 other rails that you could use for whatever attachments or like lasers or like flashlights that you would want on it. Right here in the middle of the back of the shell we have the mag release. So if we were to insert a mag in, the mag locks in place, and this lever here actually pulls up the tooth that goes into the magazine, which allows you to take the mag out and reload. The blaster is compatible with Nerf rival magazines, just the standard ones that Nerf sells, and also some Amazon off-brand mags like this one that have the weird bumps where the tooth normally would be. I will have a list on my information sheet of the known compatible mags at the moment. Moving on back, we have our on and off switch here, where if the battery were in, this would obviously be on, and then this would obviously turn the battery off. So even if you didn't have your safety pushed in, it wouldn't rev and fire. On the left side we have this part called the switch filler, and this is the one with the port, and if the battery were again inside the blaster, you would have the little LiPo cell checkers poking through here, so you can put your LiPo checker in and get a voltage reading. On the bottom we have 2 18-inch straps. I found that these straps work for my arm diameter, and I have probably the smallest arm diameter of anybody you've ever known. But I do have a lot of slack with these on, so these would probably also work for anybody who actually has meat on their arms. Under the 2 straps we have 2 rubber pads which are meant to help grip your arm so the blaster doesn't fly around on your arm as much. All the way in the back here we have our back plate, which is held on by this 1 thumb screw. So if you needed to take it off to get to your battery, you just unscrew the 1 screw, which will take off your entire magazine release arm as well. But you can now get to the back of the shell where you can take out the switch and the XT60 connector, along with your fuse housing. And then also you can take out this piece here, which I have inside, called the battery puller. First, install the fuse in the fuse housing. If your fuse is in its housing, you can close the housing and then grab your battery and your battery puller. Take your battery and your battery puller and line up the back of the battery puller with the back of the battery, like this. You are then going to take your blaster and make sure that all of the Velcro straps on the left side of the blaster are pushed up and against the main walls and the ceiling of the main cabin. Then you're going to align the battery puller with the groove that's inside the left side of the cabin, and then you're just going to push down until it hits the end. Next, you are obviously going to make sure that the blaster is switched off, and then you are going to take your 2 XT60 connectors and then plug them in. After you plug them in, you are going to grab your fuse housing and basically just shove it all the way to the back of the right side of the main cabin of the blaster. And then make sure that the wires can get in. And then you're going to take your XT60 connectors and basically align them into the cabin and make sure that these wires are arcing over. Next, you are just going to take your XT60 connectors and then push them into the blaster and make sure that these two wires go into the top channel. And then you're going to take your switch and then you're going to line it up on the slot on the right side here and basically push it into place. And it should friction fit pretty nicely in. Next, you're going to go to your switch filler and your LiPo cell check connection, and then you're going to take the top of it and align it with the top slot on the switch filler, and then you're basically just going to push it in, and there should be a small click, and it should basically be held in by friction of this top little bulge here, and you can also put that in place. Next, you take your back plate here and you align the indents with the extrusions in the bottom of the plate so that they slide in. And then you're also going to line up your mag release lever along with the mag release, and then you just have to tighten the one screw. Now your blaster should be functionable if you pull back the safety and turn on the blaster and pull the cord. Removing your battery is also pretty easy. You just take off the one thumb screw in the back until you pull up the back plate again. Next, you're gonna take the switch and you're just gonna pull it out a little bit, and then you're gonna pull out the XT60 and all the wiring along with it. Just gently pull it all out. Next, you're going to unplug the XT60 from the other part of the XT60 connecting to the blaster. You take out your switch filler, and then you can just pull down a little bit on the back of the connection and then push out the switch filler from the cell connection wire. Next, you're going to take one finger and then wedge it in between the battery puller and the battery, and then you're just going to pull the battery out like that without pulling on any wires. One important thing to note is that if you were to have the blaster off with ammo inserted in the magazine and the safety taken open, and you were to pull the trigger cord and inject an ammo into the flywheels, you will know that nothing happened because the blaster is off. But if you were to turn the blaster on, then you would probably hear a pop, which is the fuse going off because you injected ammo into the flywheels early without them revving, which is causing a stall. The fuses, though, are extremely cheap and easy to replace. It's a much better process than replacing your motors. I found that there are generally two positions that you can orient the blaster on your arm that are comfortable. First position is on my right arm here, overarm, where the blaster is on top of my arm when I raise my arm and the trigger is closer to me. And second position is underarm. It's kind of hard to see here, but when I raise my arm, the blaster is under my arm and the trigger is still closer to me. Strapping your Foamarm Fryer on is actually pretty simple. So you unvelcro these straps and pull them out. Then you place your fryer down and put your arm in where you would like it to be positioned and place the straps in one by one and lightly tuck them just so that they're in place. You could check to see how it's positioned on your arm. It feels a little floppy and I want it over more, so I pull it over towards me. And then now I can tighten my straps to secure it on my arm. And they are pretty tight, but they do not ever feel like that it is cutting off the circulation to my hand. There we go. I can wiggle, do whatever. That thing's not going anywhere. If you printed out mag holders, you can put them on in just the most convenient and comfortable way for you. They have one slit for the Velcro straps to go through. Just slide them on and then tighten. And now you can hold an extra mag on your arm, just like that. Now, if I pull the trigger cord, the blaster will fire. A smaller safety note is to just not throw ammo into the firing chamber and then insert a mag like this, Now, the Foamarm Fryer was designed to be pretty resilient and not like break if this happens. However, this will make your blaster function kind of weird in a way, and it could risk breaking it. So if you notice like a round like popped out of the mag before you inserted it or whatever, just take the mag out and push the round out, and then reset your blaster, and you should be good to go. That's it for this operation and demo of the Sandshark Labs Foamarm Fryer, our first blaster. There's a link in the description to the information sheet on the Foamarm Fryer, which contains more information, such as the print settings, where you can actually get the files for the Foamarm Fryer, along with the hardware needed to make one of these. Also in there is a link to the build guide. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day.